nothing in my life has happened by my own will. I'm 23 years old, sober 4 years. Was that my will? No, I wanted to get fucked up my whole life. I wanted to destroy myself. I didn't think I was gonna make it to 21, but I'm here today. 23, podcast, bumping, face card, hitting. Life's good, dude. Like, it's not perfect. I'm living though, and that's all I can ask for is to live. What's up? Welcome to another podcast of In Between the Lines. I'm your host, Kyle Johnson. This is a podcast in which today we have a funny topic, and a topic that I know oh too well, of playing a character and being the director of our lives. I've definitely played some characters. My whole life I feel like I played a character. I played a person in everywhere I went, a different person sometimes the same person, but I played who I thought people wanted me to be. I became who I thought people wanted me to be. I couldn't be myself because I thought in my mind nobody wanted me. And that came from a place of wanting to be accepted, wanting to be loved, wanting to be cared for, wanting to be seen, and it's understandable. And I don't fault anybody that does it. I still do it. I still want to please people. I still want to be the perfect person for somebody, but I thought that I wasn't hurting anybody by doing this. I thought I was mainly hurting myself, but at the same exact time I didn't know how much I was hurting myself. I didn't know how much I was harming myself and how much I was hiding from myself, and I guess this is like a sense of control, in a way I didn't want to get hurt, in a way I didn't want to get exposed, in a way I didn't want to be rejected. So I tried to control the set. I tried to control and be the director of everything that was going on in this camera, and don't show you this and show you that, and hide this because you wouldn't like me for that. And it was just because I didn't want to be rejected, and that's perfectly fine. And as I said, we all as humans want to be accepted in one way or another, and I think that the main and most important thing in life is love and affection and relationships, and that's what makes this world go round, is affection, relationships, and love, and if we didn't have love, what would we be living for? What would we be having amongst each other? We would just be pretty lost, because I think it's one of the sweetest and the most sexiest drugs on earth, which is love. And it's a high like no other. And it's a feeling like no other to pretty much be accepted. And it's a feeling like no other to not be accepted and be like the loner and be stuck feeling like you're different than everybody. But in reality, you are different than everybody. You're nothing like anybody, and the fact that you try to hide that part, the fact that you try to deceive and make it seem like you're like everybody that you're around isn't love, isn't self-love, isn't anything that love has, because love can only be accessed if you're being you. I don't know, maybe that's some bullshit, but that's what I think, and I know for me at least, like, I wanted to have my will, I wanted to have what I wanted, which was acceptance, and I didn't want to have what God wanted, and this concept of God, as a young kid, you don't really understand it, you don't really get it, and I didn't understand it, and I didn't get it, so everything that was God was pretty much my faith in my parents, the kids that I was hanging out with in school. That was my conception of acceptance, or my God later on became, when I was like in middle school and coming into like high school, was the success, the idealization that I was special in a sense, because glory became like a high and a drug that I loved, and that came from because I was a competitive tennis player from when I was a young kid. And when I came around like 9 or 10 years old, 11 years old, I started to get like kind of good. I started to get better, and that glory, played a factor. It made me feel, oh, I'm worth something, because in different places I wasn't worth anything. I felt in school I wasn't worth anything because I wasn't as smart as other people. I didn't read fluently. They always took me out the class for special reading and stuff like that, and PA math, and which is like special kid math, because I couldn't fit in the boxes. I couldn't check the boxes off or pass all the tests that they put in front of me. So I was cast away, and I was put to the side, and people laughed at me and stuff like that, and it made me feel not okay. But on the tennis court, or where I got that acceptance, which was playing tennis, like I felt as though I was worthwhile, and I think that's all we want, is to feel like we're worthwhile. But this whole play on acceptance and my will and self-will, and my self-will gone riot, and me kind of playing God in a sense and wanting control, and when I didn't get my way, I went crazy, and when I did get my way, I was happy for just a little bit of time, and we perceive that I perceive, at least, that the harder I hold on, the harder I push, the harder I work, the harder I will this into existence, the better the faster it will come, and that's how I can possibly control life, and feeling out of control and feeling powerless in a sense. Maybe that's like from childhood trauma or whatever it is. It felt like it was something I couldn't feel. Like I couldn't feel out of control of a situation. I couldn't just let things be, and a part of my story is that I ended up going into drugs, and I started going into alcohol, and I'm now 4 years sober, and this character that I wanted to keep playing sooner or later started to destroy me because it was eating me alive more than I wanted to be alive. It was taking everything in me, and it was like almost exhausting to not be me, and continue to act and continue to put on this role and put on this facade to everybody that I was fine. And I feel like social media does that to you in a way where it's like you have to pretend like your life is perfect and everything is crystal clear and everything is great. I'd be posting on Instagram, smile, oh, life is so good, I'm this, that, and this, and whole time I'm like damn near crying on my bed when I'm posting this shit, but at the same time, I feel like that's the generation of like Gen Z that we've grown up in, is that you can't show that you're sad, and like everybody that shows that they're sad, they're now cast away, and like they're an outcast, and they can't be this, or they can't be that, or that kid's weird, I don't want to hang around that kid. And people are so quick to give up, I think, like I know me, at least, when I was younger, I was like, somebody doesn't make me feel good, all right, fuck them, and that's like the default now. They're useless, bye, and that's what our world revolves around. Somebody's useful, somebody's not useful, bye, say hello, ghost, that's what we're doing. And that dynamic makes you want to keep that guard up as much as you can, and kind of escape to keep that facade up and keep that character going of the guy that smiles and never doesn't stop smiling, and the guy that has everything going on is. And for me, it was that I was the good tennis player, and I was winning matches, and that I was going places, and this, that, and this, and the whole time it's like I didn't even want to play tennis at a certain point, and I was building up this facade so much that it's like I'm trying to please my parents on the back end of that, and I'm playing a sport I don't even want to be playing, or I'm doing things that I don't even want to be doing. I'm over committing to this sport because I feel like it's the only lifeline I have to live, and it's wild to think, and it's crazy to uh, assume that that was like my life, that like I relied on a sport to make me who I was, but that's the truth, and we rely on so many things to make us who we are, and I later on, after the tennis, and when I stopped playing tennis, it was the drugs that made me who I was. It was if I got a girl or didn't have a girl that made me who I was, if I was getting pussy or not getting pussy. And now everything started to be defined by the outside of me, so I was quote unquote living for the world. That's what people call that. And the character has now taken over, and I'm continuously acting, and I'm in a Grammy Award winning movie that nobody else knows is going on, and it's just me, and I'm playing this role, and I'm trying to direct every part of my life, and lying here, stealing there, doing this, doing that, and trying to have my will, and at the end of the day, it just doesn't work. As much as I tried to self-medicate, as much as I tried to self-sedate, as much as I tried to find answers and figure out life, I just came up to needing to surrender to the fact that I just don't know fucking anything, and I'm stupid, and I don't know what's best for me, because everything that I thought I knew best for me wasn't best for me. The things I thought would once heal my pain just never did, and it all comes full circle, even after that, after I got sober by the grace of God, and was able to start a new life, and build a life, I built up that life, and I was in a great job, and I had so many great things going on, and so much potential, and everything was great, from the outside looking in, and everything was quote unquote perfect. Whole time I'm like getting eaten alive, because for the first time in my life I'm supposed to be happy, and I'm not happy, and even in working the job, I'm working this job because it's the definition of success for a 21-year-old or 22-year-old. I think the bar's raised a little bit with all these guys on Instagram that at least I watch sometimes, that are like riding around Lambos and everything. But I was like the 21-year-old, 22-year-old, that was in a 6-figure job, and I had stuff going on. I had a big, quote unquote big role. I thought I was doing big things. I had big checks coming in every 2 weeks. And I was like, I'm the shit. And I didn't feel like the shit. Like I didn't at all, and I felt like there was more. There was something more I had to do, and I was like, dude, I'm at where I once dreamed of. Like, how is there more? How is there more to this situation? And I got to another bottom of like spiritual emptiness, where I'm trying to fill the void of like life, and build this character up again that's like filled with money and lavish life and this and that and the girls and everything like that. And I'm trying to fill the void with money. I'm trying to fill the void with pussy. I'm trying to fill the void of kind of the glory still of like trying to make myself feel more than I am, and it was like, I'm supposed to be happy, I got everything. This is what I want, and I'm supposed to now be at a place where I have to be happy. There's no ifs, ands, or buts if why I'm not happy right now, like why everything's not perfect, and that's like I know I'm sick, I know I have a disease of like wanting to be perfect and everything, but that's the disease of perfectionism that we live in now, where it's like, oh, I have to look perfect. I want to look perfect, but then inside you don't feel perfect. You feel empty and lost, and I couldn't hide it. And I knew at the same exact time that my conscience is telling me, like, what am I doing with my life? This job kind of sucks. I'm acting as if I like this when I know I don't. I know that I'm trying to be accepted and approved of by my boss, in which I'm doing anything in which he says. I'm working more hours than I ever should work, 100 hours a week, because I'm just trying to please, and I'm trying to feel what's on the other side of these paychecks, and what is supposed to quote unquote fulfill me, and I've come to the point now, where the answer is not anywhere outside of me, and it's like you learn the same same things 5, 6, 7, 8 times before you know it. It's like you're gonna get asked the same questions in school till you figure out how to answer the fucking question. And it's the same thing, I feel like, in life. And lately, where all this has disappeared, and my whole self of ego and self-centeredness and needing to control this and control that and do this and do that and hold on to my will so tight has disappeared, because I had to, because nothing that I did fucking worked. Nothing I did worked. Excuse my language. I have to stop cursing. Nothing I did worked. I've gotten to this place now where nothing's perfect still, but I've gotten to this place now where I'm able to sit still and realize that, I've always known God had a plan for me, and I know I always knew God had a purpose, and I'm always known that I've been put on this earth to do something better than I ever imagined, and sitting in that, and sitting in the fact that I don't need to know the answer. I don't need to know what I need to do next. I just have to know and look for God's will, pray on God's will, and oftentimes the prayers that we're asking for, the things that we're praying for, maybe you don't pray, maybe you don't do any of that stuff, but the things I was praying for, they're being answered in ways that you don't even understand. I don't know if I had that job still, if I'd ever make this podcast. I don't know if I had that job still, if I ever would see the things that I've now saw to elevate to the place that I want to elevate to. And life is about elevating. It's about going to the next level. It's about being uncomfortable. And this has been the most uncomfortable 6 months of my life. And after that, I've always been a hopeless romantic, that wanted a girlfriend, wanted a relationship and a girl that I loved, and meeting my dream girl, whatever. Like, I always fantasized about this for years, and I got fired, and immediately after that, I meet the girl that is now a part of my life and is the best girl I've ever met in my life. So everything happens for a reason, and if you're losing hope, and if you think in your mind, like, dude, the world's just fucking me, like, everything is fucked because the God hates me, and, like, I can't get my fucking way. That's not true. Things are happening in ways in which you can't understand why they're happening and how they're happening, and how God's will is working, because he works in mysterious ways, and nothing in my life has happened by my own will. I'm 23 years old and I'm sober 4 years. Was that my will? No, I wanted to get fucked up my whole life. I wanted to destroy myself I didn't think I was going to make it to 21, but I'm here today. 23, podcast, bumping, face card, hitting. Life's good, dude. Like, it's not perfect. I'm living though, and that's all I can ask for, is to live, to live and learn. That's what life is learning, figuring it out. That's life's about figuring it out, like figuring out, what am I? What am I here for? What do I want to be here for? And who do I want to spend my life with? I didn't figure it out yet, and I'm happy I haven't figured it out, but learning about everything that I'm learning about is a hell of a freaking ride, and just being is the best thing that's ever happened to me. And letting go and being able to, it's a daily fight, one day at a time, trying to look for God's will and listen to his will and believe that everything is happening. And sometimes it feels like stillness or not doing anything about what's going on is like stupid, and like, what, I gotta do something, but it's like, sometimes like no motion is better than too much motion, and slow motion is better than fast motion. The faster you get it, the faster you lose it sometimes, and the higher you go up, the more you're gonna fall. I feel like sobriety, life, whatever you want to call it, this isn't a up. It's not like that. Nothing in life is like that. Whatever goes up must come down. Whatever goes up must come down. Whatever goes up must go down. It's just like stocks, and I'm a big stock guy. I love options and stuff, and it's whatever goes up, well, it must come down. It's never straight to the top. It's never an easy ride. That's why life is life. That's why some people make it, some people don't. Some people have the life that they're living, and they're living it the way they want to live it, and you got to live your life the way you need to live it, because your life is totally different from theirs. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't. Sometimes you just gotta accept that life isn't that deep to know everything, have everything organized, and it's gonna be what it is, and you have to be who you are. And that's what this podcast is about. In between the lines, where you try to find who you are, in between a world where it just kind of wants you to be what they want you to be, and wants you to conform, and wants you to just fit inside these lines and these boxes. Fuck it, dude. Just be you, and that's what we emphasize here, and that's the space that we're making. And if you have any dreams, any aspirations, bro, just drop them down in the comments, and let's try to root each other on, because I want to see you guys win. I want to win myself, and yeah, that's what we're here for, is to elevate and get better, and become the best person we possibly can. So thanks for watching.